Director Meggs? Director Sella? Here. Director Kelly?
Here.
Director Gaffney?
Here.
Director Borstein?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much, and I'm now going to adjourn to closed session. All right, I'm reconvening the Ross Valley Board meeting to open session, and I'm reporting that we have nothing to report out from closed session. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, or does anybody want to move anything around?
It's very short. There's nothing to
I'll
move.
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Public comment, is there any public in the room? No, is there any public online? Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. Number 8 are the committee and representatives report out. Tom, do you want to do finance?
Yeah. No, finance committee for us.
Our finance committee.
Michael's going to do that.
No, finance committee.
Finance,
Okay.
Here.
Why don't you do, I'm going to do 2 others.
okay. All right. So
Share
we approved the finance committee notes. I didn't because I wasn't there. We did review the August 2025 financial reports, which looked very good. We will be a little tight till December when we get additional payments, but that's normal. That happens every year at this time, so we're not surprised. Everything looked very good. I don't think we had many changes. We adopted updated job descriptions for representative classifications and approved and updated complete salary schedules for fiscal year 25-26. We'll be reviewing that again tonight, so I'm not going to go into it too far in detail. And we did authorize the general manager to execute a purchase agreement with Trenchless Supply for a total amount of $173,608. And again, that's on the agenda tonight. So that's what we did. It was a good meeting, and I'm very happy with the way the financials are. Victor's doing a great job. HR.
We're going to go over both these in item
Thank you.
number
I actually brought it this time.
12 and 13 tonight, but they were alternative work schedules for both represented and unrepresented employees. And we'll go over them, but we looked at it and agreed with staff that it looks good, and we recommend going ahead and doing it, but we'll talk about it during the 12 and 13 tonight.
And we also talked about changing the dental plan of the employees, which is
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
going to provide better dental care and possibly be cost saving.
I thought, weren't we doing our self-dental care?
That's what it, oh, well, that's in effect
That's exactly what we presented to the HR committee last week. That would go into effect in January.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you. North Bay Watershed, Pam?
Yes, I have my mic on. We met September 12th. We're a little bit off schedule at the Napa Sanitation District. Andrew Dameron, General Manager, gave a presentation kind of updating what they're up to with their collection system, their rehab program. And it was kind of nice to hear, like, I still think we're kind of doing much better than a lot of agencies. Then Andy gave a short, he's the director, Andy Rogers, on activities such as administrative updates, regional programs, participation, grants, funding, sea level rise, and our conference, which is coming up for 2026, a new website and other activities. We split the meeting up with updates on the scholarship program and opened it up to the whole North Bay Watershed meeting. And it sounds like folks were happy about extending the money from 60 to 120,000. Come on, this thing is collapsing on me. And it'll be a 2-year program instead of a 1-year program. And people are very excited about it, super excited about it. So, and I'll pass this around. At the last page is all the people who have applied, and you can see where they're at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Central Marin Sanitation Agency, who's doing that one, Tom or Mike?
I'll go for it.
Okay.
If I miss anything, Tom, chime in.
Okay.
Um, uh, we had the normal NPDES permit compliance, which all looks good. We're going to sell our surplus dewatering centrifuges, and that looks like it's going good. And I think Jason has some buyers lined up for that. We had a presentation from a company called Beyond the Dome, which has been working on a way to treat solids, biosolids. And they've been working on it for about 7 years, and they actually have working units. And they approached Jason at CMSA, and last April showed up with a crane and installed one of their units in a big trailer
Cargo container.
cargo container, and it's up and running and has been running for months. It runs autonomously. They check on it every day to make sure. And they do a thing called super fluidity. I believe that's the name of it, where instead of treating it at either very high temps and low pressures or high pressures and low temps, they treat this at very, very high temperatures and very high pressures. And the really kind of was exciting to me to hear is that they actually eliminate, not extract from, but they eliminate PFAS from the effluent. And it's not just moved somewhere else and put into biosolids somewhere else. It's actually eliminated. It's destroyed. And that's supposed to be the forever chemical. And I've heard talk that high pressure, high temp is what the key is there. They also do the same thing with plastics, which, as you know, is a very big deal in the effluent. It doesn't just extract them and put them somewhere else. It actually eliminates the plastics. So it's very exciting. And they actually showed us, they brought in I'll call this the mason jar full of sewage, the sludge. And then in another little jar, there was a few little minerals at the bottom. And then the next jar, they're not calling it distilled water or available for potable reuse. But they said absolutely that's what it is. And one of the issues is if they start calling it potable right now, it'll go through a tremendous amount of regulatory issues and probably slow down the putting it out there for people to begin to use. So by just calling it like tertiary treatment, we could probably start using it quicker. The other thing is, and it's not available yet, but they have it and it'll be available in the springtime, is it's self-energizing. You don't have to use energy. It produces its own energy to keep itself going. And that's very exciting also. And we have it, it's running there. And maybe through the back door, we'll be able to do something with direct potable reuse.
So that was, we saw that at CASA as well. So that was, I really liked your report. I was doing my schedule, but I was listening to every word you said. That's what we learned at CASA, is that these forever chemicals are, maybe there's some hope at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel on this.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's all
not,
very
not
good
just
news.
I didn't
not
go to
just
that
hope,
session.
they demonstrated.
Was it supercritical water? Is that what they were using?
They were
Called it supercritical.
they were heating and chilling and reverse osmosis.
This
I
is,
don't remember that.
it's, they have ways of doing it with the osmosis filters, but this is not that at all.
Okay.
Reverse osmosis and forward osmosis, it actually removes that stuff, and then you still have to do something with it.
Okay.
What they're doing over at CMSA is they are eliminating it. It is no osmosis. And so it runs on its own.
Yeah, so it's a different process.
I'm sorry, it's in operation now?
It is,
pilot.
it's a pilot study, but yes, it is an operation that's running every day there.
All right, I'm thrilled to hear that.
Let me do CMSA finance.
Huh?
Okay, now I'd like to report on the CMS, Central Marin Finance Committee meeting.
Which
So we
was
were
today.
presented with a finance plan, a capital improvement program, and it's up in the $90 million range. And I think that's not even counting the biosolids,
Nutrient removal.
yeah. And so then the district is planning to issue $13 million worth of bonds, but they still go in the hole in the future. You know, it's the capital program isn't completely funded now, and they go in the hole about, I say the maximum is about $7 million, which isn't that crisis, but so we instructed staff, they had a couple of options. Pull out the non-critical projects, pull out the optional projects, and see what happens. They were asking how maybe we should change the amount of bonds to issue. And I said, well, do that first, and then we can figure out how many bonds to issue. So that's going to come back to a finance committee in a month from now. So that's the first thing that we did. Then they talked about issuing debt. And of course, I told them a little bit of problem with that. And then we talked about the proposed regional charge allocation method. And Steve had done a real good review, which he gave to me before the meeting. And I showed it. And there is a chart here, which I think you've seen.
I've seen it.
Take a look. That's the
I know this because I met him Monday.
old readings versus the new readings. And so then that's when we got into, our discussions with, hey, we think we should adopt for this year right now. And then it's going to come to the board, what we do next board meeting.
Okay.
So what we can do. But you see the high readings, Pamela, and then they level out. So we were really being overcharged.
Okay.
So that is the finance committee.
Well, do the CMSA ad hoc, who?
And then the ad hoc, I guess that's next. Yeah. What we did was we got the revised contracts, and you can see all these, the comments from the attorneys. And we went through them, and
Thank you.
our attorney was there for 45 minutes. He did a pretty good job of explaining them. A lot of them are going to come back. We gave him some ideas. I commented on the super majority. I commented on that stupid whereas, and opposed any rush in the schedule. And I guess the final thing was our attorney told us this is not the final draft. So there'll be one more go around.
At least.
We need Michael to get in there and have at it. And then the revised schedule is maybe in October and November, the JPA members agreement review period. And I don't think we're going to make that, hopefully. And Dean was trying to press on a faster schedule. And I was saying, we're not in a hurry. Let's get it right.
Yep.
We're junk it.
Okay.
So
Right.
that's mine.
Thank you very much. Verbal report by General Manager.
Well, thank you, President Kelly and board members. I guess sometimes there's a rule of thumb where if it's a light agenda, that means it's going to be a heavy verbal report from the general manager. So bear with me.
But not tonight.
Somehow I don't feel
Just
that.
kidding. I'm going to go through as quick as possible. So I do have a half a dozen items, have 6 items, but I'll go through them rapid fire. So first, I'd like to report that I attended the last week of August, the CSDA annual conference. We haven't been going to a lot of those, but that was where myself and Christina Velazquez, our staff, we accepted an outstanding public engagement award, statewide award for a small special district. And it's now featured in our entryway I invite you to go admire the award that we won. First, it's our first CSDA statewide award. But also, when I was there, Director Borstein and I attended a all-day governance training that will help us qualify to become a district of distinction, which is one of our strategic plan goals this year. So I have the booklet, and I believe it was a very informative and enjoyable experience. I think Director Borstein would vouch for that. But great little nuggets of wisdom and things for you to look forward to when you do your governance training. But great little nuggets.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second on
Yes.
that so I don't lose my train of thought? I don't think we've approved the November trip, have we? Officially. So I think we need to put that on the agenda to approve the November 3-day conference down in Monterey area and then approve the council members
Actually,
going.
We did have an item before the board on consent for all of the different trainings related to the District of Distinction. That's already been approved by the board.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the authorization. Thank you, clerk off the screen, Christina Winnicky. But yeah, great little nuggets in here. Like unity does not mean uniformity on a board. And lots of different pointers on being effective directors, but also in the process of hiring and evaluating your general manager. Lots of great advice. What make effective directors? What are the 5 successes of a team? Just lots of and real world examples taught by a seasoned city manager and then general manager of the Citrus Heights Water District. So
They showed some amazing example videos of board meetings where they're like coming to blows practically. I mean, seriously, it was, I was sitting, I couldn't watch. It was so horrible.
One of the good things about being short.
That's right.
Really feel that that's going to be an option.
So yeah, so it was. Thank you, Director Borstein. There was some good examples of how not to be, and then how to be, and but maybe the best part was just the audience. The fellow trainees who came from across the state and all different kinds of special districts and experiences, and it's very enriching. I was really pleasantly surprised by the whole conference experience. Anyway, I'm just sending some encouraging words to the rest of you to sign up and do the governance training. I learned a lot. Okay, so second item, you might remember last month, I said we were going to host the second meeting of the Marin County Sanitary Districts Group. It's kind of an unofficial group. But we did host and share our survey results on lateral ordinances, on grant programs, on what approved materials different sanitary districts of Marin have, and the mutual aid program for emergencies and ways to make that a little more user-friendly, maybe on the phone, like with using GIS. So we've had some great discussions, and we handed off the baton to Novato San to lead the next meeting. But it may end up being held here because we're centrally located for all the sanitary districts. So more to come, but we expect to possibly host the next meeting. All right, third item, 2 things related to this item. It's a follow-up on the San Quentin annexation item that we discussed in August. Soon thereafter, on August 29th, Felicia and Paul and I met with representatives from the San Quentin State Prison. And we learned that they misunderstood our proposal, that they thought we would only maintain 2 times a week as opposed to the 2 times a day they currently need. And we were able to explain that we would transition to less maintenance over time, and we wouldn't, leave them hanging and not having the same level of service that they have. And that there's a capital solution that's used globally for prisons that we would recommend, and we provide them information on that, and they're going to get back to us. The second item, meanwhile, is that LAFCO is holding an agenda item on Thursday, October 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Marin Wildfire Authority office. And I was asked by the chair of LAFCO, Barbara Kohler, to invite all of you to this public meeting about the RVSD sphere of influence in the San Quentin area. They also invited CMSA staff and San Quentin prison staff. And so we've developed some talking points about why LAFCO should support our proposal to annex the whole sphere of influence based on our discussions from the August board meeting.
Can I comment, Steve? Can I make a-
Yeah,
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Probably what's going to happen at CMSA is they're going to vote to bill us on water flow and include San Quentin in the exact same way. So we could also say that, here's a proposal by me, we would agree with that billing. And so there would be no financial incentive either way for treatment. But that's good, because they worry about that. The reason that email that we heard was they wanted to be able to negotiate their sewer rate. And so it wouldn't be negotiated now. It'd be, here's a set rate.
Where's the Marin Wildfire Office?
1600 Los Gamos Drive.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that you find out.
Just looked it up.
If you're interested in going, we'll make sure we give you the information.
I will.
Good. All right. Can I move on to the next item?
Next.
All right. So the fourth item, I was invited to participate in a convening of the Bay Area One Water Network. And this network, you may recall, I've talked about it before. They hadn't convened for some time because their original funding source dried up, but there's a new funding source, but it's not permanent. But this is a group, the One Water Network has representatives of EPA, Water Board, environmental groups, business groups, academic, including Stanford and Berkeley, and local water governments that cover water supply, wastewater, and stormwater and flood control. And to talk about multi-benefit water projects and how to better support one water projects around the Bay Area. They are notoriously difficult to execute because they involve different governance agencies with different jurisdictional boundaries. And so it's non-trivial for a water and wastewater entity to work together, in terms of the agreements that need to be set up and et cetera, funding arrangements. And there's a need for facilitation and looking at case studies that do work. And then I've always been interested as a Marin County resident in encouraging more one water planning in our backyard, because I think we could improve dramatically. There are some good examples in our county, but around the Bay Area, we're a little bit behind. And so I learned a lot in meeting with this group. And again, we're looking at projects that integrate water supply, wastewater, such as water recycling, potable reuse that you mentioned earlier, but also stormwater, flood control, environmental water and habitat, and groundwater sustainability. We discussed branding ideas and how to engage the public in supporting multi-agency, multi-benefit projects. So and I shared my experience of being at Monterey One Water and going around the world-class shoreline in the Monterey Peninsula, down where my daughter goes to college, and seeing this insignia of Monterey One Water on the little pump stations around near the beach, and just thinking, wow, that's such a great reminder to the public that the wastewater that's being collected in this Pacific Grove neighborhood ultimately goes to the groundwater basin in Salinas and provides drinking water to the population in Pacific Grove. And so it's a one water vision in Monterey that maybe we could replicate here in the Bay Area. So that's my update there, and we're going to continue to participate and come up with ideas like that, and hopefully bring back some resources to Marin County to improve the visioning and the planning for potable reuse here at CMSA and MMWD. My fifth item, I'm pleased to let you know, I have a letter here, that we've achieved the Triple Crown for I think the third year, or maybe the second. So it could be the second year, but we have the letter to Victor, and this is the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA, and it's this special Triple Crown medallion recognizes that your government received all 3 GFOA awards: the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and the Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award. So the
That's
ACFR,
awesome.
the PAFR. So thanks to Victor, he couldn't join us tonight, but he should
That's
bask.
the crown.
Where's the crown?
That's just this nice letter. And then finally, I'd be remiss not to recognize a milestone we achieved on September 12th. It made me think of it. You said on September 12th, I thought, what happened? Something happened. We finished the Palm Man Cypress project completely on September 12th. That Kent Field Gravity Sewer I&I project. It's about 9 months after we first conceived of the project in response to Marin County's change of paving plans. And we addressed one of the highest I&I areas in our whole district. Very difficult terrain with a very able-bodied contractor. This project replaced about 2 miles, or 1% of our entire system.
Wow.
And it was an accelerated project. You know, we really at every turn accelerated our process. And even with all that, the county's like, you're going to be out of here by September 1st, right? And we're like, look, we're going to do our best we can, you know. So we got out of there literally September 12th. And we'll have a final count of the number of abandoned laterals for you when we do a notice of completion next month or the month after. But I think it's well over 20. Anyway, it was a dramatic amount of French drain leaching of groundwater and stormwater into our system in this area. And so we're excited to see the lower flows that will be going to the treatment plant this winter.
Very narrow winding roads, you know, that area, really narrow.
I thought about it, but I could. Well, yeah, I guess then my 7th item, the Felicia. Well, we got time, right? Actually, you did receive. I sent a blind copy email to all of you with the pictures of the site tour that we gave, and the folks in those photos were all representing development companies, and so that site tour. According to our Century Urban folks, they'd never seen that many respondents to a site tour in their experience, at least in the last 2 decades, I guess. But that's promising. And it was we talked to some folks, and there was a diversity of different types of companies that were represented at that group. And I'm throwing a dart, but I think there were 50 companies represented. So
What's the next step?
great question. So we received questions on September 10th, and I've already provided some responses to those questions, and Century Urban team is working on that. I think there was a milestone today or tomorrow to respond. I think we're extending that. There was a little higher volume than we anticipated, but the next milestone after that will be the submittal of qualification packages, not to exceed a certain page amount. I think it's 20. And that's on Friday, September 26th.
Ooh.
And so that's moving along. And I think that's it for my very lengthy GM verbal report.
Excellent. Thank you. For reports by board members or requests for future agenda items? No. I want to report that I meet once a month with the general manager, and after our meeting, we went to do a tour ourselves of that property. And also, the first time I went to see, they call it a reservoir. I'm going to call it a pond, but it's a lovely little place. And there was a dog walker up there with about 12 dogs, and it's going to be quite an amenity for that property. It's just a nice place to walk. It's really beautiful, and we've got it's kind of a hillside, but it's nice views, and it's really an exciting project.
Well, actually, you pointed that direction, Director Kelly, and that's exactly where it is. That hill right there across from our office is the same hillside that park looks up to.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
There.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, now for the consent calendars, matters listed under this item are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. The consent calendar may include resolutions. Therefore, one motion, the second and vote will also be applicable to the resolutions and recorded accordingly. Does anybody want to pull anything? I see none. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Number 12, considering of approving a side letter with AFSCAM. How do I pronounce that?
AFSME. Did you get that? AFSME.
Okay,
Yeah.
829,
Okay.
implementing a one-year trial of a 980 alternative work schedule for representative employees, which means 9 hours a day, 80 hours every 2 weeks. Steve?
Thank you, President Kelly and board members. This item is the culmination of discussions that began 6-7 months ago at the conclusion of the successful 5-year MOU negotiation and adoption. One of the first items we agreed to talk about was alternative work schedule with the represented employees. And so this proposal that addresses the represented employees, and then item 13 addresses the unrepresented employees, just for clarification. So we'll get to that. But what I'll do is just try to define what the 980 is and then how that's going to work for our organization. I will say that there was overwhelming support for the idea of the alternative work schedule.
No, 85%.
Yeah, 80 to 85%, depending on which group. And I think this is a reflection of the fact that a lot of our workforce doesn't live locally and has to drive here some distance. And so in a given 2-week period, if you've got 9 commutes versus 10 commutes, the 9 commutes sounds really good because of the time, you spend in the road. And then there's environmental benefits too of less commuting, And so there are these quality of life benefits that we believe we can still achieve the same level of productivity and customer service and responsiveness to fellow governments and utilities within this schedule. But we wanted to define a few parameters and then to get to the end point. So for the represented employees, and we'll set aside the 2 inspectors that are part of that group. It's really the collection system workers and the operation and maintenance supervisors. And then the people that are unrepresented related to that are the operation maintenance superintendents and the manager here in the room. And we had discussions and we concluded that it made most sense for those groups that are grouped into 4 different working crews, as you're familiar with, right? The repair, line maintenance, CCTV, which is a condition assessment, and then pump stations. So that's 4 crews. They're not completely static, and we sometimes need to move people around. And so in some larger organizations, they'll set up an alternating 980 where half of the group takes the first Friday off of the 2-week period, and then half of the group takes the second Friday off of the 2-week period. Does that you follow? In our case, to be more adaptable to changing conditions, we recommended that the operations and maintenance part of our organization, which is about 2/3 of our staff, be on a rigid 980 schedule, that you'll have a set Friday off for operations and maintenance. There's another goal though. We want to be responsive to the customers and to contractors that work for us and to a 5-day-a-week expectation that we mark utilities for USA, Underground Service Alert. And so to be responsive and not incur overtime, we wanted to structure this alternating 980 schedule for the unrepresented employees mostly, except for the inspectors, who wanted to stay on the 8-hour a day, 5-day-a-week schedule. They opted for that. That works well with our goal because the inspectors are relied upon for customer inspections so that we're open every Friday. We don't have a sign on our office that says open every other Friday, check the calendar,
Yeah.
right? And it is an 8-hour day on Friday. That's the way the math works. It's 4 times 9 is 36, times 2 is 72. And then 80 minus 72 is 8. That's the remaining hours on that Friday. So what we've come up with here with this proposal is a little bit of a hybrid, but it makes sure that we have half strength administrative staff every Friday and full strength, 9 hours a day, Monday through Thursday. So I wanted to tell that story a little bit, that, a lot went into this, and then we've grouped our administrative unrepresented staff into groups A and group B, and the O&M staff are in group A. And we've put that proposal forward, and it was accepted by the represented staff. So that's the first item on this. And given, the widespread support for the proposal, my sense is people feel pretty happy about it. If the board moves forward with approving this side letter to the MOU, then our first Friday off would be October 17th. And we would start the pay period that begins October 10th. And then we'd go for the year, do an evaluation. Since we track our performance metrics, we have a pretty easy way of comparing productivity, quote unquote, with the schedule and then beforehand. I'm very optimistic that we'll do really well with that, certainly within acceptable range. So that's my long and winding overview. I would actually invite Felicia to add anything if I missed with respect to the process of doing a side letter and what it contained.
I have nothing to add. I think you covered everything, but I'm available to answer any questions that come up.
Well, I know that Human Resources went over this subcommittee. Did you have any comments or questions or?
No.
No.
Sounds very well thought out. It's not forever. We can try it for a year and then evaluate it. I like that a lot.
Pam, anything?
I think it's great.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Hmm?
Should I read the whole thing or?
Second,
He
did you move?
He didn't.
Consideration of approving a side letter with Ask Me 829 implementing a 1-year trial of a 980 alternative work schedule for represented employees.
So to clarify, we would be approving that trial.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Now on to number 13, which is the same for the unrepresentative.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, there were a few other changes to this document, which is the annual resolution for salary and benefits for unrepresented employees. I'd like to ask Felicia Newhouse to brief you on this whole item. Thanks.
Thank you, President Kelly and members of the board. This item also was presented to the HR committee last week on September 12th. And as Steve mentioned, it is the 980 schedule documentation, if you will, for the unrepresented staff. The unrepresented staff also shared an overwhelming support for a 980 schedule. In the case of the unrepresented staff, which makes up the administrative staff and the engineering staff, it was decided it would be best to have that A-B schedule such that the office is open 5 days a week. Half of the administrative engineering staff would have one Friday off, and the other half of the administrative and engineering staff would have the other Friday off, effectively keeping the public doors open 5 days a week. So this amendment to the resolution that was adopted by the board in June includes that alternate A-B schedule for unrepresented staff. It clarifies how statutory holidays are administered for those employees who are off on a Friday that is also a statutory holiday, such as the Friday after Thanksgiving. On certain years, Juneteenth, Veterans Day, the 4th of July holiday may all fall on a Friday. And if a staff member has that as their regular day off, then they effectively have a banked floating holiday
Okay, yeah,
to compensate.
sure.
This resolution amendment also updates a bereavement leave benefit, which was negotiated by the represented staff and included in their MOU and was neglected to be presented to the board for inclusion in the unrepresented salary and benefits resolution. This benefit would provide up to 3 days of paid, district paid bereavement leave to certain family members. And staff is recommending that the board approve that as a commensurate benefit to unrepresented staff as the represented staff have been granted. And then lastly, it reclassifies an assistant engineer position from a salaried position to an hourly position in accordance with the Department of Labor guidelines for what they call exempt and non-exempt staff, or hourly and salaried staff. And with that concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have an assistant engineering?
Thank you for asking. We have an opening for an assistant engineering position. That recruitment is underway. It actually closes on September 21st, coming up this Sunday. And we currently have almost 30 applicants.
Really? And it's with an engineering degree?
Yes.
Oh, okay. 30 applicants. Remember, that's the one that's hard to fill
Yes.
in cities.
Yeah. And a lot of really great,
We're not cities.
and a lot of really great candidates are in the candidate pool. We're
Great
very
candidates.
excited.
Wow.
Well, when you have a great organization, people want to be part of it.
Are any of them from SRS?
Okay. Do I have any questions from any board members on this item?
No, we reviewed this in
Do
HR.
I have a motion? Mary?
Sure. I move we adopt resolution 25-1671A, amending the salary and benefits for unrepresented employees of the district.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board members.
And that moves us to number 14, the monthly operations and maintenance metrics report.
And I would like to Operation and Maintenance Manager Paul Brummer present this item, please.
Stand up, please.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
Good e-
evening.
Good evening, President Kelly and the distinguished board, staff, and council. Thank you for your time this evening. As always, talk about all the good work staff are doing out there in the field, and what we're working to get to is, no spills and a very efficient system. So thank you for your time. Training for the month of August, staff received bloodborne pathogen training. Pam, I thought you'd like that one, which is for staff dealing with bodily fluid incidents, first aid, whatnot, how to deal with it, hazardous materials, which is really important in the sewer system because there's sharps and whatnot and other things. So really good training for staff. Yeah.
What happens if you find?
Microphone?
What happens if you find a syringe in the sewer? What do you guys do?
We won't go picking them out of the sewer, but if there's one near a manhole or whatnot, we'll have a sharps box and put it in there and dispose of it properly.
And then you do some kind of notification in the area or not?
No, we do not.
So it doesn't happen very often?
No.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Pump station, staff performing 6-month maintenance of the ventilation fans at pump station 13, faced ongoing difficulty, fan issues, Mary, faced ongoing issues. There's a lot of fans at 13, and to do the maintenance, we have to pull all the covers off, pull the assemblies apart to get in to grease the bearings and make sure they're running right. And it was getting kind of time consuming. So staff came up with the idea. We tore the fans apart for the maintenance, and then we rerouted all the grease lines outside of the guards and whatnot. So now we can grease the fans without having to waste an hour of time ripping the covers off and doing all that stuff. So a little time saving, hopefully a better efficiency out there in the pump stations. Pump station 22, which is over at Cape Marin. Staff were doing semi-annual preventative maintenance, pulling the pumps out, and noticed one of the pumps had 4 linear cracks on the volute when they pulled it out. So it was getting ready to fail, starting to fall apart. Staff talked to the vendor that afternoon, got one delivered the next day and put it in that afternoon. We ordered an additional spare for that station, which will also work at 3 or 4 other stations. So now we have another viable pump that we can rotate around through the pump stations. Line maintenance crew, supervisor Rafael Zarco and senior collection system worker Jason Ruse. We, as you guys know, we have a lot of new collection system staffs, a new collection system supervisor. And the flushing equipment that we use is very specialized. We have certain nozzles that have blades on them. We have spinning ones. We have penetrators that'll clear blockages. So we really try to teach staff on the right time and the right purpose for each nozzle and what they do. So we set up a training out here in the yard, and we taught the new staff how to disassemble, change the nozzles, grease them, take care of them. And then we also set up a big, large clear tube, and we set the nozzles in there and operate the trucks so that staff can see them in live motion and see what they're doing and how they operate, so they can get a better grasp on what's going on out there in the field and what they're using the equipment for. So really insightful for staff, and it's a good time training them. Teaches them a lot about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Repair crew installed 9 point repairs and performed 15 manhole rehabilitations. And condition assessment. Condition assessment with myself and the engineering department have developed a new pipe risk model. So with all the debris catchment or over 3 years, we run these models against the cleaning schedule, and it runs a synopsis kind of if it's a high risk, low risk of failure. Is it going to overflow? Is it not? And this AI data model runs all the debris they're bringing back, the cleaning frequency, and highlights these pipes. Like, these need to go get looked at. So this is all through the high frequency cleaning. We're really working to reduce flushing and do it the right way through information instead of just willy-nilly going and cleaning pipes, which degrades the pipes. So we undertook this targeted inspection approach of 78 pipelines with that showed inconsistencies in the data. We televised over 15,000 feet of pipe, and we found four significant blockages that were identified and cleaned through this project, preventing possible spills in our system right away. So since we've done a lot of reduction, these pipes that we're finding that do have issues, we will sometimes backtrack. Instead of being on a 1 year, they'll go to a 6 year. Since we've reduced a lot in other and all the great capital work engineering and Steve is doing, it's allowing us to go back and look at these pipes and really get a wholesale look at it and what's going on. So we're going to rerun this pipe or this model every 8 months. Take a look at these pipes and see where we're at real world condition. So hopefully it'll help us really reduce our spills in the future. And then spills, unfortunately, we did have one category 1 spill. The spill was 197 gallons on Terrace Avenue in Kentfield. And unfortunately, this was a district caused spill. Staff were working out in the field and abandoned a catchment basket out there in the system. It eventually plugged up and caused a blockage. Talked to staff about that and the importance of knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're using, and making sure we get everything back on the trucks. And spoke to these staff about the importance of that. And then also we created a new checkbox on the work order. So if you're using a catchment basket or if you're putting equipment into the system, you have to check that box. And then when you retrieve it, you need to check that box before you can close that work order. So you cannot close the work order unless you've said, yes, I used equipment, or no. and yes, I've retrieved that equipment or no. So now that we're trying to work on an internal fail safe for oversight. So unfortunately, it causes a spill, but it's a learning lesson, and I think we'll learn and grow from that. So that's the end of my report. If you guys have any questions, or if I can
No, I assume that the chart we see on page 6, the RSVD flows will be changing soon.
hope so.
Yeah, it's hopefully,
It already has, actually, you
Hmm?
know,
yeah. Well,
back like 6 years.
It used to be 50, more than 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, we were 51s and we didn't. Okay.
Yeah, but that's why I asked him why it hadn't gone down more, which is,
Yeah.
our job.
Well, our
So,
flow rate had gone down.
right. But
Yeah.
not as much as we feel it should have.
but
which
not
is
the,
where
but
this
not
whole
the strength.
investigation came to.
But yeah, I would just add on to Paul's report that there were 3 examples of statewide awards that we've won that were reflected in the operations reports. That one place in the White Hill Middle School,
Mhm.
we unearthed a manhole. We need to access those manhole points, and so we put the turf helmet on that manhole at White
Like
Hill
that
Middle
same thing at San Antonio Park.
Yeah, we pioneered that Manny Vigil and his staff invented for the Memorial Park, and then we used it at White Hill Middle School of Fairfax. And then and you mentioned the competency-based training. The work on the nozzles is an example of testing competency. Another award that's in our lobby is the competency base. And then finally, another award we won just 2 months ago for innovation and resiliency. That pipe risk model that Paul was describing, we're using the basket. Unfortunately, we left one in the sewers and that led to a spill, but that basket we used to collect debris and categorize debris. We went back to the database, and all that data we collect, our AI system kind of evaluates the cleaning frequency and other condition assessment data. It makes recommendation for us to look at these 78 pipes. So our CCTV crew went out and looked at them and prevented 4 spills potentially. And, because they were high ranked on the amount of debris and the risk. And so that was our use of the data in our database. And that's why we won an award. That's why we got that picture. It's on our website now. So I like to point that out that, we're making good. And I do put pressure on Paul and his staff to make good on, we win these awards, we continue to implement these programs, and they're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Excellent, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. The next regular meeting is October 15th at 5 p.m. in this room.